One of the common misconceptions about natural dyes is that the colours are quite pale and they're not very fast. In this video, I'm going to be working with a plant that creates the most beautiful, vibrant yellow and is both wash and light fast. If you are new here, my name is Becca and I'm a hand spinner, natural dyer and newbie weaver, and you're very welcome to my little fibre arts corner in my home in West Wales. If you're an old friend, welcome back. So today I'm going to be dyeing with some homegrown Weld or Dyer's Rocket. So Weld is easy to grow, and we always think of it as a biennial, meaning that you plant it one year, it flowers the next year. And traditionally, you only ever dyed with the second year's growth. And that's certainly what I believed. And so yes, 18 months ago, more than 18 months ago, I planted my seeds and I didn't do any dyeing with the leaves of last year's plants, but actually waited until they were about to flower and had started flowering to dye with them this year. However, with a bit of research, I have actually learned that a lot of people are now dyeing with the first year's leaves. So I think that is something I'm going to do in the future. But in this video, I'm working with fresh Weld that I grew in my garden that is now 2 years old. You can get Weld as a dried powder or as dried chopped up leaves across the internet. It's quite easy to get. It's one of the big three when it comes to natural dye. You get sort of Weld, indigo, whether you're using woad or Japanese indigo, and madder, and then you've got your yellow, blue and red. And from those basic plants, you can pretty much make any colour. Of course, there are lots of other plants that will create a whole range of colours. However, if you've got those three, you've pretty much got every colour. You can make them by changing the mordants that you use and with sort of over dyeing and adding different things to them. And those three, you can grow all of those in the UK in your garden if you so desire. You can also buy them quite easily online so that you can experiment to your heart's delight. As a hand spinner, I'm going to be talking about wool. I have done a little cotton sample, which I will show you at the end, but my main focus for this video is working with wool. And you do have to mordant wool and cotton or linen slightly differently. So I'm just going to be talking about mordanting wool. So I'm dyeing some of my hand spun, and I'm also dyeing some mill prepared fibre, and I'm working with Hill Radnor, which is a rare breed that I bought from World of Wool. I will link that below. I cold mordant. If you don't mordant your wool, then you don't get a really good fast colour. And the most common and easy to use mordant with wool is a naturally occurring salt called alum, which is short for aluminium sulfate. Again, it's widely available on the internet. You don't need to have any sort of safety certificates. I will say it is a fine powder. So when you're working with it, make sure that you're not breathing it in, and always add powder to water rather than water to powder. Then you don't have any danger of the water splashing down and throwing the powder into the air that you might breathe in. So if you are concerned, obviously wear a face mask. You can dye without wearing gloves, but I just, belt and braces, wear gloves, wear a face mask, put some eye protection on, and then you're in no danger of sort of getting that powder into your eyes or into your respiratory tract. So the first thing you need to do is scour your wool. It's a very simple process. You need a big pot, some water, and some kind of detergent or a scour, a wool scour. Again, they are widely available on the internet. I personally just use a few drops of dishwashing liquid, but you can use wool wash. Really, absolutely up to you. It all works. You then bring the temperature up to no more than 60 degrees centigrade. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'll pop it on the screen. And just leave it for 20 minutes, half an hour. You don't want it to go any higher than that. Let it cool before you start kind of messing about with it. So it's really at sort of room temperature. Then you can take it out, rinse it, and you are now ready to mordant your wool. So cold mordanting, you are going to need some kind of big vessel, ideally stainless steel because it's non-reactive. Then you've got rainwater, ideally tap water if you don't have access to rainwater, your mordant, and we are using 100 grams of fibre in this particular demonstration, so you need 10 grams of alum. The alum is then dissolved in hot water and then add it to your cold water. Then you've got your solution made up and you can add your scoured wool to that solution. You then let it sit for approximately 12 hours. It's not crucial, really. 12 hours is your minimum. You can go more than that. I mean, sort of 12 to 24 hours, and your wool's not going to come to any harm. Then you want to remove your wool and dispose of your mordant. We're on the main sewers here, so I just kind of put it down the loo. It's very benign stuff, alum, but if you put it on your garden and you keep putting it on your garden in the same place, you will get a buildup of the aluminium salt, and that is not great for growing things. Alum is used to change the pH of soil, so it is used in gardens. However, if you keep adding it to where you want to plant plants, it's going to have a detrimental effect. So down your loo, it's going to be fine. While my wool is mordanting, I get on and prepare my dye bath. A good rule of thumb when you're using fresh dye materials is twice as much plant material to your fibre in weight. So I need 200 grams of fresh Weld. Now I've got quite a lot in the garden, so I'm going to harvest it all and then I'm going to dry what I'm not using for my dye bath. And I have a big dehydrator, but I'm sure that you could dry it in a low oven, or if you're in a sunny environment, then sort of hang it up and dry it in a shed or in a conservatory. It's going to depend on your situation. It does rain quite a lot in Wales, so dehydrator for me. Chop up your plant material, pop it in your pot, top that up with rainwater, and then we are going to put that on the stove and bring it up to no more than 80 degrees centigrade. Again, I will put the Fahrenheit on screen. You then hold it at that simmering point for between 15 minutes and 1 hour. I did it for an hour because I was really not sure what kind of colour I was going to get. Turn the heat off, let it cool, and I let it cool overnight. Day one, we've harvested our Weld, we've made up the dye bath, we've made up our solution of mordant, and they have basically done their thing overnight. Day two, remove the plant material from your dye bath, but you're retaining the water and, well, I mean, it's changed colour. So that is now your dye bath. Remove your fibre and yarn or whatever it is that you're dyeing out of the mordant. Dispose of your mordant responsibly. Then, without rinsing, you put your fibre and your yarn, in my case, into your dye bath, then onto a heat source. You're going to bring that slowly up to about 80 degrees centigrade. You don't want to go any further than that because it can really kind of change the colour, can make it a little bit muddy. If you keep it below that magic 80 degrees centigrade, I will put the Fahrenheit on screen, then you're going to get a nice bright colour. Let that do its thing at that temperature for about an hour, probably no more than that. You can probably get away with less. Between 20 minutes and an hour seems to be what people recommend. And I did it for an hour because that just is kind of what I do when I natural dye. Turn your heat off, let that sit, and don't remove it until it's got down to a temperature where you're not going to felt your wool by moving it. I basically let it sit overnight, and that just gives it an extra kind of chance to absorb some more of the colour. So I did this process about 2 days ago, and so let's have a little look and see how it turned out. Here is the moment of truth. This has been cooling and is now at room temperature. You might well be able to hear that it's raining because it's quite loud on the roof. Anyway, here we go. Wow. That is yellow. Now I have my marigolds on because I don't want to dye my hand, and I do normally do this outside, but as I said, it's raining, so I'm going to do it inside and just lift this out. Wowza. I think we'd get another dye bath out of that. I think I might pop a bit of cotton that's already mordanted in there. So next thing, I'm just going to rinse it out. And here are the results. So that's the fibre, and that's the yarn. You can see what an incredibly vibrant colour it is. Now this was dyed with a mixture of dandelion and gorse and some going over daffodils. And you can see it is a bit paler, different yellow. Another common yellow that people use is turmeric. However, turmeric is not light fast. So this was dyed at the same time as this. However, this has been out in the light. This has been in a sample box away from the light. And you can see the dramatic change. You can also see how different it is from our other yellows. I'm recording this, that little bit of cotton is actually drying. So at the end of the video, I will just pop that in so you can have a look and see what it looks like against that, that wool that I've dyed. I always like to give you a few resources. So I've got some books that I find really useful. First one is the Dyer's Garden. This was actually a gift to me, and it is still in print. It is still available. Because I buy a lot of books secondhand, they're not always in print, and I will try and find out for you if they're in print. I will leave a link to all of these books in the description below. So this one has a wide range of plants that you can grow in your garden, how to cultivate them, and what sort of colours you get. The next one, Wild Colour by Jenny Dean. This is fairly encyclopedic. It's a really great book. She has lots of methods in here, how to dye with indigo, how to dye with woad, lots of different dye plants and how you can grow them, as well as the different colours that you can potentially get from the different plants. So I can highly recommend that one. Is a Dyer's Manual by Jill Goodwin. It is an older book. I don't think it's in print anymore, but you can still get copies of it. And this really was my Bible until I got the Jenny Dean book. It is an older book and people have changed what they do slightly. She does talk about working with chrome and tin. I personally do not work with chrome and tin. They are very toxic, and I really don't think that in this day and age you should be working with them in a kind of a home environment. However, having said that, excellent book, loads of really good information in it and lots of different things to try, and loads of information about dyeing with weeds, which is always a bonus. Who doesn't like free? Then another good book, and this was a secondhand find, and natural dyeing, and this has got a bit more about silk dyeing in here. And again, you know, quite similar information, but a few things that are not included in those other books. So as I say, I will link all of those below so that you can have a look at them, and if one takes your fancy, it is going to be an Amazon link. After much deliberation, I've decided that actually Amazon is how a lot of these authors get paid. So I am actually going to put Amazon links in there. Up to you whether you choose to shop with them or not, but you know, just to let you know, because I had really been kind of not sure that I was going to do Amazon links, but I am, so they will be Amazon links. I will also link how to sign up for my newsletter. The PDF with how to mordant with alum will be included in this week's newsletter. If you are watching this kind of after this video has gone out, so in a few months' time, then if you sign up with that link to the newsletter, you will also get a copy of the PDF. So it'd be lovely if you did all the YouTube things. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. We have lots of very experienced fibre artists in the community, so if I can't answer the question, they will always jump on and give you a really good answer. So until next time, may your needles be swift and your yarns be soft.